masked my relief. So much of life is acting. Being well requires impersonation. Acting the part of a fit person, I proposed lunch at a Mexican restaurant, and we agreed to meet up in an hour. In the interim, I tried to put myself back together as best I could, and when Julia next appeared, I was splashed with eau sauvage, in a clean shirt and clean hacking jacket, as if we were off to lunch at somewhere grand, and not the down-at-heel Mexican place, with its quarter-in-the-slot candy dispensers and torn Naugahyde seats in the booths. I drove. Handling the car took more concentration than usual. Self-consciously, I repeatedly checked the rear-view mirror. Changing gear, I made a mess of going from second into third, getting a note of shrill complaint from the gearbox. The 3-mile drive seemed far longer, and I was disinclined to talk as we rode in heavy traffic through Ballard and Crown Hill. The restaurant was a friendly spot. A margarita for me and a Diet Coke for Julia came unordered. We had a halting conversation about laptops, never my strong subject, and when the food came to the table, she ate, while I picked, without appetite, at a roasted lamb shank and left the margarita untouched. My attempt to appear well was beginning to come apart at the seams. It wasn't until we were back at the house that I remembered I'd failed to leave a tip. This lapse of manners troubled me. It was so out of character. I phoned the restaurant, asking them to put $7.50 on my credit card, then resumed my listless pursuit of Paul Allen. Toward the end of the long, sluggish afternoon, the sky brightened, and the trees beside the window suddenly sprang into chiaroscuro, sunlit leaves fluttering against stolid blocks of shadow. But this change in the external weather failed to rouse me from the lethargy that was gathering like fog. I visited the London Times online crossword and solved one clue. I was no stranger to wasted days, but this one felt more comprehensively wasted than any within recent memory. Upstairs again, I was joined by Julia, who'd been occupied in her room. So long as she was around, it was possible to keep up my pretense of normality. Or so I hoped. We had in the fridge a cast-iron Dutch oven full of chicken korma cooked the night before, but when I tried to lift it out, it seemed that my right hand had gone to sleep, and the heavy pot threatened to empty itself over the floor. I had to ask Julia to move it to the stove. I measured, rinsed, and drained the rice, using only my left hand. We sat down to eat. Trying to marshal the rice with the knife in my right hand, I watched the blade as it slid feebly over the rice pile on the plate, barely grazing the surface of the grains. I tried again, and got the same result. The knife flatly refused to carry out the order transmitted to it from my brain. Its insubordination made me at last acknowledge to myself that I was having a stroke. When I shared this news, in carefully toned-down form, with Julia, she said, "Hospital," and reached for her iPhone. Footnote: Julia herself says otherwise, telling me that she had been surreptitiously busy on her phone for at least half an hour before I said anything, alternately Googling stroke symptoms and texting her mother about how to compel me to go to an emergency room right away. End of footnote. I have a secret sympathy with Mary Baker Eddy, the founder of Christian Science, who thought all illness error and told her followers to avoid medical treatment at any cost. Doctors and hospitals exist to kill you, is my own opinion, and on this occasion I thought that a good night's sleep would cure me of my error, and besides, Julia and I had our date to visit the Apple store on Sunday morning, limp hand notwithstanding. I told her that the emergency rooms of Seattle would be crammed to their bursting point on this Saturday night with the victims of drug overdoses, stabbings, shootings, and the like. Much better to leave the whole business till tomorrow, when in all probability my temporary